Hello, my name is Teresa Ramirez. I have asked todo poder al pueblo colectivo to give me this opportunity to speak in reference to the death of my son, Robert Ramirez. Oxnard Police killed him on June 23rd of 2012. I have done many news conferences, but unfortunately, not everything that I say gets posted or said. Only pieces of my statements get done. And I want to have the opportunity to ask for somebody to do a real criminal investigation that, in reference to my son's death. When Robert was killed, all my family and I wanted was the truth and how he died. As the investigation ran by Mr. Bamiam's office proceeded, they started to learn the truth about what happened to our son Robert. We learned that some friend of his called the police asking for Robert to get medical attention because of his reactions to the drug he had taken. Instead of receiving medical help, Robert was surrounded by officers. Witnesses as far as 40 feet could tell that Robert was not armed, and as he stood up, witnesses described the officers attacking my son. All of the evidence that we are aware show that Robert never threatened any officers, nor did he make any aggressive actions towards any officers. Investigators working for Mr. Bamiam examined Robert's body, and so did we. Right after he was released from the coroner's office, and we documented all the bruises all over Robert's face and on his body. On Monday, the coroner stated clearly that my son's death was a homicide. That he was choked to death by officers restraining him. The coroner's opinion was consistent with the eyewitnesses who told the investigators and myself that they saw an officer choking my son. I have read comments from the representatives of the Oxnard Police Department making claims that my son was not choked or beaten. A spokesperson for the department was even quoted in the paper saying that the Oxnard Police Department disagreed with the coroner's opinion. How could anybody in the community possibly have confidence in any investigation conducted by the department who denies the accounts of witnesses and claims the county coroner's medical opinion is wrong? Our community has lost the confidence in the officers who are sworn to protect us. Mr. Bamiam's investigators have contacted witnesses who are scared to come forward due to the fear from the Oxnard Police Department. Unfortunately, Robert is not the only resident to die at the hands of the Oxnard Police Department. He appears to be the first in a series of people killed by the Oxnard officers over the past 6 months. As a mother, I want justice for my son. And as a lifelong resident of the city of Oxnard, I want a police force that I can be proud, and not a police force that I fear. Robert's death has been ruled a homicide, and Mr. Bamiam has explained to me that it is a crime to use deadly force without justification. I want to know what justification did these officers have to kill my son? And what justifications did these officers have to choke the life out of my son? On behalf of my son and my family, I am asking for independent law enforcement agency to investigate my son's death. The public has the right to know the names of the officers who choked my son to death. Instead, our police department has hidden these officers from the public, has denied their actions, and according to the recent statement, the officer who choked my son is back on the streets working. And your son can be next. Your daughter, your neighbor, anyone who you love. my son was killed, his killers and the friends of his killers should not be the people investigating his death. Our family hopes that Robert's death will help end the culture of violence at the City Police Department. The culture will not end unless the community makes it clear that we will not accept a police department that covers up the crimes of their officers and allows killers to patrol our streets. I am confident that Mr. Bamiam and his office will hold the Oxnard Police Department responsible in the federal court's actions that they will soon file. However, we have no confidence that a civil judgment will stop the culture of violence within the Oxnard Police Department. An independent criminal investigation which can identify the officers who use violence without justification and can identify the predators and hold them responsible can be the first step in ending the repeated actions of violence committed by our officers. I am asking all those concerned in our Oxnard community to join me in this request. All of us must speak out and shed light on all of our dark times. We have to be a community in order to protect our families, friends, and neighbors. After we did the press conference, the names of the officers, a day after they were all released, I am wearing the shirt with their faces. They're patrolling the streets, and your kids can be next. Your family members, brother or sister, your niece, your nephew, your neighbors, they could all be next. Look at their pictures, and you guys be careful, because they're out there, and they know that they are protected by our chief and by their whole department. They're out there. After my son, there has been more deaths. Some of these were also involved. Look it up. Don't let this continue. Stop them. Help me put them in prison where they belong. Murderers are murderers, and they belong behind bars. It's not just for my son. It could be yours. You could be sitting here begging for help. If we don't do something to stop it, I'm so sorry, but you will be next. Don't let that happen. The pain is tremendous. The loss can never be replaced. If you love your son, if you love your daughter, if you care for your neighbor, then stand up and fight.